It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline. Brought to you by the Westgate Las Vegas, home of the world's largest race and sportsbook and the Super Contest.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Presented by WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, tonight's opening night for the Aviators at the brand new Las Vegas ballpark. It's going to be a big crowd out there. And you can bet on Aviators games. That's right. Superbook and Station Casinos, I know, have lines up. We'll talk about that with Jeff Sherman in a little bit because it's our Superbook USA Tuesday. And obviously we have a lot to go over with Jeff, one of the really preeminent golf analysts out there. And this is Masters Week. Marco DAngelo is here. I'm Dave Cokin. Ari Platinum's doing the producing. What a game. What a championship game it was. An overtime game. I believe the overtime prop was plus 800. I didn't have any of it. And the funny thing is, when we were talking yesterday with Chuck Esposito, I mentioned this game's got a chance to go to overtime. Oh, well, that's the way it goes. I didn't bet it. You did bet the game, however. You had a good play. And look, I mean, I think you'll be the first to admit whenever you've got even a small favorite in overtime and it wins, there's some luck involved, but you did have the winner, and that's a satisfying way to come out on top in an absolutely tremendous game.
It was, Dave, and you know what? You talk about the overtime. If you've watched any of Virginia's games down the stretch, that was plus 800 might have been worth the flyer on them because they have played close games, and the one thing that I said, when it did go to overtime and when they hit the clutch three, what I say yesterday, boy. If this game gets tight down the stretch, advantage goes to Virginia, in my opinion, simply because of all of those games where, lucky or not, they were able to pull those out, and that serves as now we believe we can do anything. And the kid hit the clutch three to tie it up, and then they went to overtime, and, it would have been a shame if Texas Tech would have got a good shot off at the end when they turned the ball over, trying to call timeout. That was like, oh man, don't let this end that way.
The one criticism I guess is, I know. Well, ideally you want to wait till it gets down to less time. Boy, I don't want a team shooting a three to tie me there.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make sure they don't have it's going to be a contested three. And I know you're taking a chance of fouling if that's the case, but I'm not letting an open three happen. You can have two, or we'll foul you. But I just am not going to let that. And he was wide open.
Great passing.
Tremendous pass. And I'm not blaming that on the coach or anything. I'm sure that they knew what they were supposed to do. They just didn't do it. And they left a kid who's really clutch and who's heading to the NBA. They left him open for a three, and he just cured it.
Yeah, it was. I know it wasn't the dream matchup that maybe the network wanted to see there, but as far as
couldn't ask for better though in terms of if you're a fan,
absolutely,
you knew it was going to be a good game going in, and it was,
and it did. And Virginia had the biggest lead of the game at 10, but we saw that didn't last long.
I shouldn't say it was early, but you knew there was, especially with the three.
Yeah.
The 10-point lead means next to nothing in college basketball.
And for most of that game, it was every possession counted, and it was a great game to watch. When we get Jeff on in the next segment, great time last night down at the Westgate.
I was unable to get down there, and I'm sorry I didn't, but did enjoy the game at least.
We had two of the nice boxes in the back of the casino. It was a pretty sweet setup, and to watch the game, that's the way to go. And we had a lot of people stop by because, on all of the videos and stuff that we did yesterday, Morning Joe, that we do, Wager Talking at, we invited people to stop by. And a lot of people did come by up to the booth, come up to our boxes there and, said hello and had a drink with us. And it was a pretty cool night.
Not bad. Now, there was some mention. I do have to, but this will go away from the basketball game for a moment because there was some mention of some kind of a drinking contest taking place at this event. Did that come out? Johnny Detroit was not in town, right?
Johnny was in town.
Oh, he is?
Yes, Johnny's in town. It was, I put up the number. I actually made Ralph a minus 175 favorite over Johnny and Kelly. And Johnny was he was in good form.
Oh, okay. I thought for some reason I misunderstood a text from him. I thought
he was there. Johnny was there. And I would have to give on alcohol content because Ralph gets slightly disqualified because he was drinking Miller Lite.
Okay.
Johnny was drinking. He was drinking the hard stuff.
There has to be some kind of a grading system. It's like grading, scoring figure skating.
Volume.
You get more. Even if you fall
degree
down,
of difficulty.
Even if you fall down, if you're doing like one of those triple axle deals or whatever. I don't know anything about figure skating, but you get scored higher.
Yeah. So Johnny, on alcohol content, total volume, percentage of alcohol, Johnny won the match.
Well, did Kelly?
Kelly was okay. I think Kelly, now that Kelly's a superstar, and everything, she's got to watch her image. I think so. She kept it pretty low key.
Were there any surprise candidates to sneak into the qualifying?
No, Brian would have been my dark horse, but Brian was driving last night, so he didn't drink. So that would have been the only one that I would have put in there.
All right. Time for us to look ahead to tonight's action. We'll get a betting report shortly from Jeff Sherman. We want to look at some of tonight's games. We do that with the Tuesday MJ Christensen 4-4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sports Lines 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
Don't forget the estate sale is taking place today and tomorrow, the last 2 days of the estate sale. If you've got artifacts, jewels, whatever that you're looking to get a price on, possibly sell, now's the time to get to MJ Christensen in Boca Park. Find out what they're worth and make a deal if you want, because this estate sale, it's once-a-year deal, and it's taking place right now at MJ Christensen. There are actually a few marquee-level matchups tonight. You've obviously got Dwayne Wade playing his final game at home for the Miami Heat. We'll talk about that with Jeff Sherman as we get to the NBA in a little bit. You've got the Yankees and Astros, which we decided to make the marquee matchup. And you've got this game, which we'll talk about now, because it is an elite pitching matchup. Strasburg versus Nola, Nationals and Phillies.
Yeah, Dave, you look at this one in Strasburg, mid-season form, man. 6 2/3 innings last time out, shutout ball, striking out 9. He's got the K working for him, and whenever he's dealing it, he's one of the toughest pitchers in Major League Baseball. Nola, he's had 2 starts, Dave. One very good and one very bad.
Yeah, his command was just not there in his last start, and he's walking guys, and everybody has a bad day now and then.
Yeah, unfortunately, that bad game was against this same team. So, it puts me leaning to the Washington side. And I know, Dave, we look at this stat, and I know it doesn't mean as much as it did in the old days because rosters change. But you look at Strasburg, he's had 24 career starts against Philadelphia.
Oh, these teams play, division rivals. It's not such small sample stuff because they play so many games against one another.
Well, 24, and his team's 19-5, and in those 24 starts, Dave, he's got an ERA against the Phillies of 2.44 and a whip of 0.90. That's dealing it. I got to lean with him there.
Flip side, and I didn't play the game, but flip side is, do you want to go against Nola off a bad start because he just doesn't have 2 in a row very often?
No, he doesn't.
It's a tough matchup.
It is, but I'm getting a price, and that makes me lean to the Washington side.
Dodgers and Cardinals are playing Ross Stripling on the mound against Dakota Hudson. Hudson's an interesting guy, and this is where you have to factor in opinion. He was outstanding coming out of the pen in really both short and long stints last year, but I don't think he's a starting pitcher. I don't think his arsenal at this point in his career, now that might change as time goes on. He's a very young pitcher. But I think at this point in time, he's probably best as a once through the lineup guy, maybe twice. And that could be a problem against the Dodgers because that offense of theirs is absolutely ridiculous right now. They did get held down last night. They scored 2 in the first inning, only got 1 more the rest of the game. But don't forget, they were coming out of the Sunday night game, and they were coming out of Colorado and traveling. So they weren't in a plus situation last night. Stripling is generally quite good. He is a 6-inning guy. He's generally not going to give you more than that, but he's a 6 strong-inning guy. I think the Dodgers are the right side in the game. You are going to have to pay a little bit of a price, but I would lean that way here.
I agree with you, Dave, and all the points you said, especially the schedule. And we said that was a bad spot yesterday for them. This is a good spot now. It's the second game. Stripling, 2 starts, has been outstanding. ERA of 2.32, a whip of 0.94. And you talked about Dakota Hudson. That first start that he had, he went 4 2/3. He gave up 4 runs. But what really bothered me, Dave, 3
EBs.
3 home runs. Dave.
And the control wasn't great.
So I can't do that, and I'll give you a little stat here. I know you like trend-wide stats. Here's one over the last 5 years that's 77%, Dave.
Ooh.
Play on road favorites with a money line of -125 to -175, who are outscoring their opponents by 1 or more runs per game on the season.
Well, the Dodgers are sure doing that.
If they're coming off a loss by 2 runs or less. This angle, 66-19, Dave, the last 5 years. I'm on the Dodgers.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
I got to write that one down. Let's go to the A's and Orioles because it is one of the earlier games. A matchup of lefties here as the rookie Means will make his first start for the Orioles. He's been okay in limited duty out of the bullpen so far, but it's very small sample. He'll go against the Oakland A's and Brett Anderson. You know, before the season started, we talked about a couple of teams that might be regression candidates this year. And it's all before the fact, so you never know how it's going to work out. But one of the things I pointed out was that teams who have unusually strong records in one-run games the prior season often regress the next season. Well, we had 2 teams in the American League West. One of them is going insane, and that's the Seattle Mariners. They're not playing any one-run games. They're winning them all by like 12, okay? But the other is the Oakland A's. And they are in last place right now. They are not off to a good start, and there are some holes on this team. And among them is the starting pitching. It's just not a real good staff right now, and I'm not sure if the A's are going to be contenders this year. They've got offense. They can play defense, too. But the starting pitching is very shaky. And I think you're already starting to see some realization of this in the market because even the Orioles are getting some play today against the A's. I haven't checked the line in the last half an hour or so, but I think you're going to see some sharp money at least show up on Baltimore in this game, despite the fact it's the Orioles. And by the way, Chris Davis in his 0 for 49 will not be in the lineup tonight.
Well, that's definitely a plus.
Oh, it is. Yeah, and it is.
Yeah.
Because he's an automatic out at this point.
You look at this one, Dave, and when we talked about this game yesterday, we mentioned I thought it was a horrible spot for the Oakland A's. Traveling east off that big series against Houston, even though they got swept, you were traveling to Baltimore, play the worst team in baseball on a Monday night. Now that you got your clock cleaned last night, I think you're going to see a much more focused team tonight. Is that enough for me to lay 170 on the road?
Is it up to 170 now?
Yeah.
It's a big public side.
Yeah, I can't do it. But that's the only way I would go. I don't trust Baltimore in this one tonight. You've got Means, as you talked about. He's had 3 appearances this year out of the bullpen. He has been spectacular so far out of the bullpen.
But he's pitched 5 innings total.
Right,
you know.
5 innings. So will that translate into a start? He does have advantage. Oakland's never seen him. First time through. But I just can't do it. It's a small lean to Oakland, but I'm passing this game.
And the Mariners take on the Royals. And, boy, if you're just betting Seattle blind every game, you're picking up some big profits. Look, tonight, if you look at the pitching matchup, Gonzalez and Junis, you say, well, but, Junis has been pretty good at home. He's a decent pitcher. He had a little command issue last time out against Detroit, but even got through that without getting damaged too much. They eventually lost the baseball game, but it wasn't really his fault. But how do you play against the Mariners at this point? I mean, they are just absolutely obliterating the opposition with this offense. To me, I didn't play the game because I think this could be a spot where the Royals snap their losing streak, but you've got too many things on the Seattle side. Kansas City's lost like, I don't know, 6 or 7 in a row right now. I don't like playing teams that have lost 7 in a row. And the Mariners are just damaging the baseball right now, so I couldn't make a play here.
I did. I like Kansas City here, and everything you said, Dave, absolutely. And if you stay away from teams on bad losing streaks, that's a wise thing.
It's not the worst idea in the world.
Right. But I look at Junis, and I think really if this game would have been scheduled 10 days ago, Kansas City would have been favored in this game.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay, and I just think it's a little bit of an overreaction to the market. I know Seattle's playing super. They have had a pretty good schedule of who they've gotten to face so far, playing the White Sox, playing the Angels when they couldn't hit the ball
Playing
at all.
the Red Sox, who just flat out suck right now.
But the biggest thing that puts me on Kansas City tonight, Dave, Homer Bailey's not on the mound for them. How is he still in Major League Baseball? He got ripped again last night.
There's some guys in the game who shouldn't be there.